Hey, what's up my loves? My name is Mina. Welcome to my channel Mina Reads, and today we're doing my May wrap up. Before we get into the books, I do just want to say this video is being kindly sponsored by Book of the Month. Book of the Month is a super popular and fast-growing online book subscription service for readers, and their mission is to promote new and emerging authors and help readers discover books that they'll love. How it works is that their team vets hundreds of books each month, and they provide you with a carefully curated selection of 5 titles that you can choose from. Book of the Month is also a risk-free service. You can skip any month at any time and you will not be charged. Plus, Book of the Month has the best prices for new release hardcover fiction. So you can get your first book for $9.99 with the code MINAREADS. So check out the link in my description if you're looking for a new book subscription service. This month's selections include Half Sick of Shadows by Laura Sebastian, an epic feminist retelling of Arthurian legend. Sky Falling by Mia Mackenzie is about a queer black woman who in her 20s donates her eggs, and 12 years later she is confronted with her biological daughter. And Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon is a YA romance about a young girl rediscovering love in the wake of her parents' divorce. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid follows the kids of the legendary rock star Mick Riva as their lives are changed over the course of one epic and unexpected night. And lastly, The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, and this is a psychological suspense novel weaving together Greek mythology, murder, and obsession. If any of those titles stick out to you and you'd like to grab one for yourself, you can use the code MINAREADS and check out the link in my description below. So thank you to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. So let's get into the book, shall we? So I do just want to say that I think that May was definitely a much better reading month than April was. In April, if you watch my April wrap up, you will know that it was full of a lot of disappointment, a lot of bitterness on my part. I was very displeased with the outcome of April's reading. But I am pleased to say that this month, May, was definitely a better month, and the books were hitting like I needed them to hit. So I am excited to talk to you guys about some of these books. So the first things that I read in May were volumes 39 to 43 of Haiku. I'm almost done reading the Haiku manga. Haiku is a sports manga when we're following this character named Hinata Shoyo and his high school volleyball team Karasuno as they attempt to qualify for nationals. So in the volumes that I read, there is actually a really big time jump, and we're now following the characters after they are kind of adults, graduated high school, and kind of is so where are they now type of volumes. And I am definitely loving these volumes. I love the time skip. I love what they're doing with it. It was really great. So I think if you like sports manga, even if you don't like sports manga, you should give Haiku a try, or you should watch the anime because it's great. It's just a very feel-good experience. I have never cared about volleyball a day in my life, but somehow Haiku invested me in everything that volleyball has going on. So I think if you just want something nice and cute and just like, I don't know, emotionally uplifting to read or watch, you should give Haiku a try. Okay, so then I read First Comes Like by Alicia Rai. First Comes Like is about these two characters, Gia and Dev, and basically Gia has been communicating with Dev, or so she thinks, for about a year now. So when she meets Dev in person at a party, she is shocked to find out that he has absolutely no idea who she is. So she's been getting catfished for about a year using Dev's pictures, and she's like super embarrassed by this. So Dev is going out of his way to kind of make it up to her because he feels really bad that someone was catfishing her. And there is a few different tropes in here. So there is some fake dating, there is like a marriage of convenience plot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of fun tropes in here. But I have to say that I felt personally that this book didn't fully execute any of the tropes that it was attempting to do. They didn't fully work. So like, while I did think that Gia and Dev were a cute couple, like they were nice together, it was sweet, and I love seeing a Muslim, you know, hijabi heroine get a love story, like that was really great. But I just feel like the way that the tropes were employed in this book made it hard for me to like fully invest in and believe in the way that the story was flowing. I don't know how else to describe it. But so yeah, it's like 3 stars. After that, I read The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. So in The X Talk, we are following these 2 co-workers, Dominic and Shay, and they work at a public radio station. And basically, there's kind of this whole hate to love vibe going on here because Shay, she really hates Dominic. She can't stand him. But they have to partner together on a new radio show that they're going to host called The X Talk, in which they're going to pretend to be ex-boyfriend and girlfriend, and they're going to like dispense romantic advice, basically. Sort of. And so this is enemies to lovers workplace romance. I have to say that I gave this book 3 stars. I thought that some aspects of it were fun, and I do think that Rachel Lynn Solomon is like a good writer, so to speak. But I've personally found Shay to be very off-putting. I did not like Shay at all. She was an incredibly bitter individual, and while I understand that Shay was going through a couple of things, There was just this vibe about her where she felt like a particularly joyless individual, and I can't say that I loved that. And I didn't love the way that the story wrapped up. It was kind of like, but I do feel like Dominic and Shay, I felt like they had chemistry. I really liked their relationship, and I liked the writing, definitely. So like, it was enjoyable, but I don't know, for me personally, Shay just really fucked up the vibe. That brought the book down to a 3-star. Okay, so then I read People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, and oh my god, this was like one of my favorite books that I've read maybe ever. One of the best romances I've ever read. It was so fucking good. Okay, so People We Meet on Vacation is about these two characters, Alex and Poppy. And so they go on a vacation every single year, and at the start of the story we find out that they had a vacation 2 years ago that ended in disaster, and they haven't really been in contact since. So Poppy has decided that she wants to kind of, you know, renew their tradition and go on one last vacation to try and rekindle their friendship. And obviously this is a friends to lovers romance, and this book was so good. I feel like the friends to lovers aspect was executed so perfectly. Like, their friendship was so wonderful and so amazing. I felt like the writing in this was really cool. It was really fun, and it was a nice balance between it being like comedic but also being really heartfelt and like beautiful. And then I felt like Alex and Poppy, they were just such wonderful, well-realized characters. I love their relationship together, their chemistry. It was like the perfect opposites attract romance that I've ever read. If you like the opposites attract trope, you will love this. I just think that it was so interesting. It was so interesting how different they were, but how much they loved each other, how much they relied on each other, and just seeing their relationship throughout the years was so rewarding, because we do get like multiple timelines where we see their past vacations and also this current vacation that they're on, trying to rekindle the friendship that they once had. It's just amazing. It's so good. You have to read it. It was fantastic. I loved every single minute of it, and I literally read it in one day. Less than one day. I read it in like maybe 7 hours. It was fucking phenomenal. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And I will say again, I loved it. Please read it. So after that, I read Spy Family Volume 3, and this is a manga about this guy. He's a spy. He's doing this undercover investigation where he has to pretend like he's a family man. So he adopts a child named Anya, marries this woman named Yor, and so they're kind of in this fake marriage of convenience thing while he is trying to do his undercover operation, because he's like a spy for this national intelligence agency. I have to say, I really did not like this volume. I enjoyed the manga as a whole, and I definitely want to continue with it because it's very cute. It's a really nice found family vibe. It's some fun like action and intrigue involved. I really do like the plot. I like the characters, particularly Yor. I think she's really interesting because she's like an assassin, but she's also like really sweet and innocent and like, I don't know, like unknowing about the world, and it's really interesting. I don't know, her character is an interesting dichotomy. So I really do like the characters, and I like the concept and everything like that, but for whatever reason this one was just not it, because it introduces this really weird thing. So we meet Yor's brother, and Yor's brother is like in love with Yor, maybe. It was very weird, and it was just not at all giving what I wanted it to give. I really did not like this volume. It was really fucking weird, very strange, and you hate to see it. Okay, so after that I read Finding Joy by Adriana Herrera. So this is a contemporary romance. It's set in Ethiopia, and we're following this character named Desta and his love interest. What was his love interest's name? Elias, I think. So Desta is basically coming there as like a relief worker, I think, in Ethiopia, and they're trying to establish some kind of relief programs there. And so Desta and Elias are getting to know each other because they're working on the same team for this project that they're on. And it's just like, it's a contemporary romance about them. I have to say that I did not like this book. I didn't enjoy it. It's not that it was like bad per se, but I really did not vibe with the main character Desta. Like, I didn't like his narrative voice. I don't know, like something about him was just a bit off-putting, and I didn't enjoy being in his head, so it was hard to enjoy the book as a whole. So I was just a bit like ambivalent about it. It was not as amazing as I really wanted it to be. Yeah, it was just I don't know. I didn't enjoy the vibes. I gave it 2 stars. Okay, so after that, I read Check Please Volume 2. And so Check Please is a graphic novel, and we're following this character named Eric Biddle. He goes by Biddy, and Biddy is a YouTuber, and he's also a figure skater. And in this book, we follow him as he goes to college at Samwell University, and he joins the Samwell University hockey team. So this is like his journey on the hockey team with his teammates. It has a really fun found family aspect. It's so adorable. It's so funny. I really love the characters, and also it's very gay. There is a wonderful central romance. Eric and his love interest Jack, they're great. I love them. So sweet. I'm so glad that I finished it out because I used to read Check Please when it was like a webcomic. Like I used to read the updates on Tumblr. So it was so rewarding to have the book like in my hands and all that. Like it was great. I loved it. 5 stars. So another amazing gay graphic novel that I read this month was Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. So, Heartstopper is about these 2 characters named Nick and Charlie. And Nick and Charlie, they basically get seated together on the first day of classes, and they quickly become friends, and they're on like the same rugby team together. And this is just a story of them becoming friends and having like mutual crushes on each other, pining for one another, and it's just really cute. It's so adorable. I really love the art style in this, and it's all in like this really, I don't know if you can really see it, but it's all in this really pretty like blue tone, and I just loved it. It was so adorable. It was so cute. I gave it 5 stars as well. It was wonderful. Okay, so then I read The First Sister by Lyndon A. Lewis, and this book we're following 3 main characters. First sister, who has no name and no real agency. She's a part of this religious order called the Sisterhood, where she works as a priestess, but also she provides like sexual comfort to the soldiers. We're following Hero, and they are a highly skilled assassin, and they're basically on the run right now. And so we're seeing them describe to their partner like why they became a fugitive and what happened and what led up to them becoming a traitor. And finally, we're following Leto Solucius, and Leto is a soldier for Venus, and he is tasked with finding his partner Hero, and we're seeing like how they all converge in this interplanetary war that's going on. I personally have to say that I did not love this book. I really struggled with getting connected to it, and I have been reading this book off and on for like months, and I just really struggled to get connected to it. Like I felt like there was a lot of really cool elements to this story, cool themes, and I think that it was written in an interesting way, but I just felt like I really couldn't, I don't know, I couldn't get as invested as I wanted to, and I just didn't love it. Like it was cool, it was fine. I may read the next book from my library or something, but it wasn't like my favorite thing that I've ever read. So 3 stars. So then I read One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, and this is a sapphic romance, and we're following these 2 characters, August and Jane. August, she moves to New York to become a student, and we're following August as she settles into life in New York, and every day on her commute she ends up seeing this mysterious sexy girl named Jane. August begins to wonder if it's a coincidence that she keeps seeing Jane on the train, or if there's something like more supernatural and mystical at play. So we're essentially following these 2 characters while August tries to figure out what's going on with Jane and why she keeps seeing her on the subway. So Jane, we know from the synopsis that Jane, she's stuck in like a time loop and she cannot exit the train. And this is just a really cute romance between them. It's really interesting. There was like a lot of depth to it, and it also involved like some queer history, which I really loved. I really liked Jane and August's relationship, and I especially liked Jane as a character. She was so interesting. I loved her. She was amazing. Also, she was really hot. I was like, you know, my new bookish girlfriend, if you will. She was really great. I gave this book 4 stars because I really liked the romance. I thought that the concept was fun. I really liked the found family aspect that's in here between August and her new roommates. I thought it was just nice. It was fun. It was sweet. But I didn't absolutely love August as a protagonist. Like, she was cool. She was fine. I just wish that it was dual POV, and I wish we got Jane's POV as well. But that's neither here nor there. So 4 stars. It was very enjoyable. If you want a nice sapphic romance to read, I would definitely recommend it. It was cute. So then I read The Reinvention of the Rose by Christina C. Jones, and this is a book about this girl. She's an ex-assassin, but she's reforming her life, and she's decided to settle down in this quiet neighborhood called the Heights, and she is going to become a candle maker. So she buys this candle shop, and she's going to become a candle maker and, you know, mind her business, reinvent herself. And she meets this guy, and he's like a tattoo artist, and this is just a romance between them. I give this book 4 stars. It was very sweet. It was nice. I really loved it. Not necessarily for the romance. I mean, the romance was cute. It was like, it was nice. It was a nice addition. But I think the thing that I loved the most was following this main character. For whatever reason, I can't remember her name. But following this main character as she reinvents herself and rebuilds her life. And as she kind of took back like agency and figured out what she wanted out of life and what her likes and dislikes were and how to forge new relationships. And it was just amazing to see her come out of her shell and, you know, work through some of her trauma and just find some joy in life. So I really loved that aspect of it more so than I loved the romance. But the romance was definitely cute. It was definitely enjoyable. So it was great on all fronts. 4 stars. Okay, so then I read A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This book was fucking phenomenal. If you take any recommendation from this video, take this one. You need to read this shit. Like, you need to read it. So basically, A Dowry of Blood is a Brides of Dracula retelling. We're following this character named Constanza. And Constanza, she was like a medieval peasant, and she finds herself being rescued by Dracula, and she becomes Dracula's first wife. And this book follows Dracula and her relationship throughout the centuries as Dracula collects a number of other consorts. And so this is like about the brides of Dracula. There's also a husband, and so this is about Dracula, his brides, and his husband and their relationship, and how Dracula has this dark side, and how their relationship goes from this really beautiful thing and Dracula's this savior in Constanza's life to him becoming the villain in her story rather than her savior. Is really interesting, so beautifully told, so well written. I absolutely adored every single moment of it, and I would highly recommend it to literally anyone. You should definitely read it. Last but certainly not least, I read A Lady of Rooks Manor by Catherine Moon, and this is a story about this girl named Esther who goes to work at Rooksgrave Manor, which is basically like a brothel. There's a catch. It's a brothel for monsters. So the clientele are all supernatural creatures, and we're following Esther as she learns more about her clients and kind of like falls in love with all of them. So she basically is collecting this little harem of supernatural creatures who are obsessed with her and who love her immensely. And this is erotica, so it's mostly just like sex, and it's like the most horny thing you will ever read in your life. But I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. It was great. There are a bunch of different characters. As I said, she is collecting a harem. So let me tell you about her boyfriends. She has an invisible boyfriend. He's the invisible man, basically. She has a vampire boyfriend, Augustus. He was great. I loved him so much. Then we have Dr. Underwood, and Dr. Underwood is basically like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So he has 2 personalities, and his second personality does actually have like a physical form. And then there's Amon, and Amon, he is Sphinx, which was interesting. So he has like all these magical powers, whatever. So he's a Sphinx. And then who else? There's more. Oh, and then there's Booker. Booker is a golem. He's made of stone, marble to be specific. And let me just say that Booker was my favorite boyfriend. Like, was he made of stone? Yes. But was he also the best boyfriend? Also yes. Like, it was, listen, I know that I sound crazy. I know that you're looking at me and you're like, Mina, like, what the hell are you reading? What are you talking about? But it was good. Like, if you like erotica, I'd highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It was good shit. Good shit all around. I loved it. So anyways, that's going to be the end of this wrap up. Yeah, it was a good reading month. I had a fun time. I really enjoyed a lot of the books that I read this month, and even if I didn't absolutely love them, there weren't too many books that made me like super angry or that I hated immensely. So that was good at least. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all in my next video. Bye you guys. Like, comment, and subscribe, and a special thank you to all of my wonderful people.